long time ago, we learned that there were too many children who were legal orphans, which means termination of parental rights had happened for both parents, and they were aging out of foster care without finding a family. And that's pretty much the worst outcome that our system can provide a child.
They give up. There's enough change, anybody's going to give up. When you move kids around, even if it's for the right reasons, and they're not finding a spot with somebody to love them and stand by them forever, they're going to give up at some point.
It's like being in a hotel, hoping to go home, and you're waiting, and you're still in the hotel and you cannot find your permanent home. That's what I think, for the most part, it feels to children. I'm in a temporary placement, and this is not my room yet, forever.
I ended up talking to my husband, Andy Barkley, who happens to be a statistician, and he had an idea that he could actually create a predictive algorithm that could find more than just the legal orphans. It could actually predict kids who are heading towards that kind of legal orphan outcome. And so we decided to call it the Cold Case Project. The Cold Case Project started under Justice Hines. I went to him and asked him, he's a Supreme Court justice, would he allow us to start this project with some grant funds? And he said yes, right away.
When we first started 10 years ago, I would describe it more as a scientific project in terms of based on data and children likely to age out of foster care and reviewing files. I think now, 10 years later, it is more of a human element or side to what we're doing.
The Cold Case name it's a mean name. It's always bothered me, but the purpose of the Cold Case name is to shock the conscience and to shock the system into reacting. Just naming the child on the list can be really helpful to spur a whole bunch of people into action.
I remember 10 years ago when we first started, I would kind of get the hand like, you're not going to review our file and come in here and tell us what we've done wrong. And so we really had to work really, really hard to say this is not about what anybody may or may not have done wrong, but rather come back to the table, put all that aside and say, what do we need to do now?
It is kind of an odd thing, by focusing on it, you're acknowledging that your system isn't perfect, but I think one of the goals of good government is figuring out how to try to improve these systems and make them better.
It's important also to get outside views, outside looks. You can get stuck on a case and not know what to do, and some creative people from the outside can help you get restarted again.
What I find helpful with the cold case that I had was us having these staffings, where you have all these different minds coming together to figure out how to address permanency.
It's a collaborative project, and so it's work between AOC, OCA, and DFACS. We have really increased the participation of the SAGs, the attorneys who represent the Child Welfare Agency, of guardian ad litems and CASAs, so that they can be at the table as well. And a lot of the different pieces of the child's life, like the foster parents or service providers.
They have assisted the counties in thinking way outside the box to achieve permanency. They provided private investigation skills, just tremendous support out of state as well, and background check, and a lot of information to help us in some of our very, very difficult cases.
The cold case does help with us being able to brainstorm and letting us know what they can and cannot help us with which we might have thought was impossible. Even something as small as a parent may live in another state, and cold case may be able to help us have the parent, travel so that they can see their child.
Could we think about the case in a new way? Could we reevaluate family members that we might have lost along the way? There's all kinds of things that they have done that have opened the possibilities for permanency for those children.
A case manager, you only one mind, but when you can have the support of a supervisor, even the support of where the placement is, I just think that helps a lot.
We try everything at least once or twice, sometimes 3 times. We're leaving no stones unturned to ensure that we get this family back together, or to ensure that this child has a forever family.
The Cold Case Project has really helped us kind of continue to look at things more and more and more and be creative, because you're not talking about just a work task or anything. You're talking about somebody's entire life. So if you give up on them, where does that leave them?
It used to be more of a rarity that the child could be at the table because of school or because of where they might be located. But now we've really pushed and said it's about the child. They need to be at the table because this is about their lives.
It's just kind of in our DNA that if you give people the opportunity to be heard, you don't always have to agree with what they say, but they'll feel much more comfortable with the outcome if they felt like they had some fair chance of input.
I think the cold case gives the youth a sense of belonging and a sense that they matter because their decision is being heard.
Children are usually very honest. We staff cases with children 16 and above, and they have no filter when they respond to us. So I've learned from them to better improve our services to ensure that we put things in place. Instead of us having a meeting for them, we're having a meeting with them.
And you can't underestimate how important that is. It's the difference between being told what to do and being told what to do after you had some chance to say what you wanted to have happen to you.
One child mentioned that defects expect me to be happy about being kidnapped, because that's what it felt to me, that I was in my home, I was fine. Well, so my mom was having some issues. So what? I felt safe, but then the next day I'm pulled into care and I'm kidnapped and I'm going off with strangers.
The older one, has just always, asked about, their mom, how come my mom doesn't want me? I know to try to answer that for a young man who's just craving to just be loved. How do you tell a child, about their biological family not stepping up to the plate? But I always try to be optimistic for them and give them hope and continue to, to be positive about that. No matter what, you will have a forever family. We'll make sure of that.
One case I'll call W. He was a 15-year-old that came up in the cold case list, and he'd had a failed adoption. Belinda Cowan asked how he felt about the name of the Cold Case Project. And W said, I was just glad that you guys were looking for people like me. I was just so glad that somebody cared.
A youth has expressed to me, or they have actually expressed, is like, how did you know about me? Oh, we know about you. We've been working behind the scenes to ensure that you have a smooth transition. And just to see the look on their faces.
There are people who care about them, and there are people from justices of the Supreme Court to governors to everyone all through the system who want them to have the chance to have a family, have the chance to have love in their lives, and get the things they need to be successful and productive citizens.
Can I say to you, hey, I followed these kids, I know exactly what they're doing? No. What we can do is be able to say, wow, they actually were adopted by this family, or they did return to a parent and are living with them.
Hope is the most important thing, and if we can give them the opportunity to have the things they need, I think we can have some real success.
It can be something, a little piece of matter that would make it so children graduate from high school, or they're doing Boy Scouts, or they're doing things that normal children, your children, are able to enjoy.
Me seeing the results myself, that the kids are getting permanency, that really touched me. Kind of, as a man, you try to have pride, but I ain't gonna cry. But
it is one of those projects that we have developed in Georgia that is seen as innovative and a model for other states to follow. That's a really positive thing that we should be proud of.
But it's really important that we don't look away. There's a child behind every one of those names on the cold case list who probably really, really needs some intervention.
You just can't give up on these kids and families because they're part of our world, they're part of our community, they're our neighbors, our sisters, they're the person you really like at the grocery store that you see every time you check out.
All kids deserve family, they deserve love, they deserve support. Those are all the ingredients to to having, these kids be able to come up and be successful in life.
We got a second chance at helping a child who may be stuck on the cold case list get a family. And if that's not a good reason to get up every single day and go to work, I don't know what is.